Hi guys, it's album review time. We've got Saint and Immortalizer. Saint are a Christian metal band. Been going since the early 80s. Recently had some great albums that I covered. One of them a couple of years ago was called Heaven Fell, which made it into my top albums of the year. So they're on a great run at the moment. 40 years since their debut album. So a very important year for this band. This is their 14th studio release. Now, like I said, Heaven Fell was a great album. Made it into my top albums of the year a few years ago. Just a brilliant, heavy, dark, guitar-driven album, and this one's no different. What you got from the album is what you get here. Much of the same. All those guitar riffs, all those melodies, all those great vocals, all that great technical ability that the band have got. So this is the third album with David Nelson on vocals, and you know what? There's a lot of, well, not a lot, but I see some comments under a lot of the videos about Josh Kramer, you know, and I know a lot of people, you know, they live with that history of the band, grew up with the band, and you can't blame people like that. But as far as I'm concerned, I've got no affiliation really with Josh Kramer, as I wasn't, I didn't follow them. I've got no real history with Saints before Heaven Fell, really. You know, I've heard a few of their songs years back, but no real history where I was, you know, really into the band, and any changes would mean that much to me. So I see it as it is, and David Nelson, he's a brilliant vocalist, and I think he does a great job. From Heaven Fell to this one, I didn't hear the one before that, but man, I can only imagine it's much of the same. This is classic metal in vein of, you know, Judas Priest, Saxon, Iron Maiden a little bit, but maybe Priest and Saxon and bands like that. Straight up, full-blown heavy metal. You can't get no more heavy metal than Saint. There are darker themes, I think, throughout this band. I think, you know, if you think about all the Christian metal bands that are around, I think this band, you know, musically and lyrically, are one of the darker bands. They, you know, they sing about hell, the end of times and things like that. So the themes are very dark, and it does match the music to go with it. But you got to remember, this is so melodic, this music. This is always melodic. No matter how dark and heavy it gets, the melody this band give off is outstanding. And I've spoken about the technical ability as well. Man, it is just ridiculous. This is an album for guitar fans, without a doubt. Some great playing throughout this from all the guys in the band, but this is guitar up front. If you love a guitar solo, look no further. So talking about the people in the band, so David Nelson, like I said, I've got no affiliation with Josh Kramer. All I can go on is how great David Nelson is, and he's, you know, got that full-blown sort of operatic style heavy metal vocal. You know, he's right in the vein of the, you know, a classic metal vocalist, in the same wheelhouse as, you know, like Dio and Halford and people like that. So he's got a brilliant vocal, and you know, like I said, I know no different really. So yeah, man, this is great. Anyone who loved Heaven Fell, this is just right in the wheelhouse of that. Amazing album. And I think, you know, within the Christian metal scene, or within the metal scene, if metal fans get to hear this who are outside of the Christian metal scene, I'm sure this will make its way into the top of many people's lists by the end of the year. So let's talk about my favourite songs on the album. There's quite a few to talk about. We got Immortalizer kicks off the album. This is the single, this is the title track, a great pounding metal track that has definitely a bit of Judas Priest influence. I've been mentioning Priest for a little bit, I must admit, but you know, that's what I hear. Happy to hear that the you know, the greatness of Heaven Fell, like I said, is back, and it's as good as ever. It's immediate, it's heavy, it's groove-filled heavy metal, sort of flirting between classic with a hint of thrash as well, I would say. A cool opening track. Repent is the next track I want to talk about. It is track 2. It's a dark, heavy riff, kicks this track off, and it starts as it means to go on for sure. An epic song that sees like chanting backing vocals to add that epic feel again. The guitarists flex their muscles with a cool solo. Not sure which guitarist it is, but a riff-heavy track that sort of follows the title track perfectly. My Cemetery is the next track I want to talk about. One of my favourites, this one. This one leads you into a little bit of a false sense of security, I would say. Sort of piano, strings and vocal intro. The beautiful beginning is just interrupted, in a good way, by the way, by a crushing track. Again, the band really hit hard with a dark, brooding song. Another epic metal track. Eyes of Fire is the next track I want to talk about, and man, this even betters My Cemetery. Honestly, there's no let up as the band sort of come in with another cool and refreshing guitar riff to kick the song off. There's so much groove in that guitar riff. Then they hit you with one of the best and catchiest choruses on this album for sure. They definitely sort of, for me, on this track more than others, sort of relate to the 80s metal fans, I think, with this one. An amazing song. The Congregation is the next track I want to talk about. There's No Time to Breathe again as another heavy track hits even harder. That Priest influence sort of kicking in with a medium paced chuggy and riffy track. The quality is just so consistent, man, across this album as it is in their last album. Its songwriting department is where it's at. These guys can really write a song. The next track I want to talk about is Into the Kingdom. This is a cool track, man. They sort of had this galloping riff throughout the verses. David Nelson in great form as the song sort of flirts in and out of heavy and, well, sort of less heavy sections. I suppose a slight Maiden influence in this track. Maybe it's the galloping that's making me think that. It's a great song. Blood of God is the next track I want to talk about. Very dark lyrically and musically. Sort of that sort of lyrics sort of covering the end of days, I would say, listening to the lyrics. Very metal lyrically, I would say. It's a really interesting track that sees a lot of variety in the songwriting as well. Very cool. Where is the Faith is the next track I want to talk about. This is a great track as well. I mean, they all are, man. But a very cool minor riff in the verses and a song that sort of sees the band break things up with like a very different feel throughout, especially a really cool solo section where the song almost comes to a stop. An epic track. Salt in the Wound is the last track on the album and the last track I want to talk about, and it's the longest track at 5 minutes and 38 seconds. It's really heavy, in your face metal. That's the perfect closer. The chorus is excellent as David Nelson powerfully hits that higher range. It's a pounding track, man, that really sums the album up altogether. A really cool song. So guys, this album, the new album from Saint, is pretty amazing. It's called Immortalizer. Get it now. Absolutely amazing stuff from the band again. Let me know if you're going to get it in the comments below, and I'll see you soon.